strategic move that Eddie is making for AJ? Why are you not thinking, let's get him set up for
kind of animal? If that was years and years ago. Clarissa is a way different fighter from when she was.
Thanks for joining me live.
Defenses that she's had to have recently. She's full teeth.
All right, what's going on, everybody? Welcome to another edition of the Roundtable. Tribalism. I don't think tribalism is necessarily bad. I just think it has.
I don't know what he think he sees and what he think he knows. But he going to the hospital, bro. Like, bro, you not winning that fight.
You guys mentioned, I think, D-Style, you mentioned him versus Regis Program. I love that. Sounds like a
I don't need you, and PBC and others, in my opinion, it's like, this is my guy.
Flat out, and we call Fox, and we go to the end of the round, and then we go
what do you mean by acting flat? That's a fair question, but the participants are scratched off.
And they're announcing a fight 3-4 months from now, and he ain't going to fight. I expect you anything. He's not going to fight somebody as good as John. All right, what's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another edition of the Roundtable. We have an awesome panel as always tonight. We got my buddy D-Style Boxing, and back with us we have the mighty Ring IQ, and my partner in crime, Lukey Boxing, and we also have the lovely MC in the ring. All right, so we had a great fight this past weekend, and a lot of people have different opinions on this. David Benavidez have a good performance? Was he a little bit off? How would he do against Canelo based off of this? So we're going to go around the panel, and I'm going to ask everyone, how would you rate David Benavidez's performance last Saturday night? We're going to start with you, D-Style. What's going on, man? How's it going? Look, it was but okay, look, check it out, okay? I picked him to win, all right? So I did feel David would win the fight. I like the fight. I don't have anything against the fight. I thought it was a really, really good fight. I think for the first 6 rounds, I felt Plant won most of those rounds. I felt like Plant was ahead on my scorecard, or at the very least was a 3-3 type fight. But I did feel the momentum shifting, and I felt like, David took over. And what I will say is this, and this goes out to what I'm seeing out there. Oh, did you see that? Look at the punch stats. Look at how many punches he landed. And I talked to you about this, Joe. Look, just like LeBron James could pad his numbers in the fourth quarter, okay, just like, a lot of quarterbacks pat their numbers at the end, or especially when they're behind, and it's just garbage numbers and stuff like that. I'm not saying this is garbage numbers, but he padded the numbers in the last 3 rounds when Plant was exhausted, didn't have any legs. He padded the numbers. He landed almost half of his punches in the last 3 rounds. That's just the truth. And I think it's I don't know. It paints a different picture when you look at the final tally. It doesn't tell, like, the way you got to look at the punch stats is not take the total number, then average it out in 12 and say he landed this per round. No, what he landed per round, we know what it is. Just look at the round by round and what they landed. The truth is, he didn't land more than 3 jabs until the 11th round, right? So when people say he was putting on a jab vest, well, no, he wasn't. He didn't land more than 3 until the 11th round, right? When people say, oh, he just beat the hell out of Caleb, I mean, that didn't start to the final 4 rounds of the fight. With that said, the end result is what matters, right? He did get the W. I think he was a clear winner. I think he proved again that he has a really, really good gas tank, all right? And I think that's a quality that's good to have in boxing. A guy with a good gas tank is always going to be in a fight, all the time. So I can't count him out in any fight because of that. But from a scale of 1 to 10, I'll give him a 7.
Okay. Ring, I kind of know where you're going to go with this, but for the sake of entertainment value, let me know what you rate David Benavidez's performance last Saturday night.
Well, if I remove all the polarization from the fight fans on social media and I just look at him for what he is, I look at how he fought and what I would have thought if I saw that same performance without the narratives, I'd give him probably a 7 to a 7.5 because it's a tale of 2 halves. The first half of the fight was clearly Caleb Plant. The second half of the fight, which many of us anticipated, Caleb's gas tank, it wouldn't hold up, and he'd start getting hit. And I picked David to win the fight, but I picked him to win by way of knockout, which is why I don't give him an 8 or a 9, because you didn't live up to my expectations. You had a guy who was very tired for about 5 rounds. You couldn't find the knockout. And I don't blame Kenny Bayless for that. I blame the fighter for that, because I saw in the Gervonta Davis versus Yuriorkis Gamboa fight that he was doing the same thing. Gamboa, he was spoiling. He's just hitting and holding and trying to smother. But Gervonta Davis, he found the knockout. David didn't find the knockout. So 7 to 7.5. He's a formidable fighter. He has a good gas tank. He can be entertaining, not taking that away from him, without the narratives and without the fan stuff. 7 to a 7.5.
Got you. Lukey, what were your thoughts on David Benavidez's performance? Were you impressed at all?
I mean, I think importantly, I should say I didn't watch this fight live. I was at the Ramirez fight, and I watched a couple of rounds live, and I kind of saw what was going on. So maybe that clouded it. I mean, it's fine. You know, I think that everyone that's a hardcore fight fan has the same opinion. They were impressed and they expected David to win. But when I talked to most people, they expected a stoppage. So with David not getting the stoppage, I think this is business as usual. Winning fixes everything. But I think that it's the expected result, and many people were looking for an emphatic statement from David. And I don't think this was a definitive statement making the case for a Canelo fight.
Got you. MC, David Benavidez said that he would be disappointed if he did not get the knockout. Question I have for you is, are you disappointed that he did not get the knockout?
I will have to say I'm not necessarily disappointed just because of the championship rounds. I felt that his performance during those rounds could have led to that. I personally felt that the fight should have been stopped around 11th round, 12th round. If that was my fighter, I would have stopped that fight. I heard from Sean Porter. I wasn't at the fight, but Sean Porter was there, and they did have the towel in their hand. So to me, that's important. I'm not really sure. I personally will give him an 8. I did expect a knockout from David Benavidez. I'm not going to say I'm let down by that. Again, I think that at the end of the day, he did make the adjustments throughout the fight. I was not necessarily impressed with Benavidez Sr., but I was glad that he was able to compose, that he kept composed during the fight. He calmed David down when he needed to. So those are some of the questions that I had going into this fight. I'm looking forward to how that 168 is going to play out. I think there's so many great fights to be made. We really don't know how some of these fights could go. Some of them are 50-50. So I'm just looking forward to a good later 2023.
Okay. So speaking of how 168 will go, what do you think is next for David Benavidez and Caleb Plant? I'll go with you, Ring.
I mean, for David, they kind of made it obvious that they're looking for a David Morrell fight, which is it's a good fight. And for David Benavidez, it's a good learning fight, because I do believe he's still learning. David Morrell has certain stylistic advantages over David Benavidez. That's a good fight and a manageable situation, because he only has 8 professional fights. So that guy's still kind of green. As far as Caleb, you know, that was 12 rounds of really 6 rounds of getting hit. So he's going to need some time off. And maybe when they bring him back against Charlo as a litmus test for Charlo. Or maybe they get him an easy one and then Charlo, you know, because he did get hit towards the tail end of the fight. At the beginning, he was all right, but he got hit a lot towards the end. So logically, maybe they get him a tune-up fight, a rebound fight, then throw him in there with Charlo. And, you know, a good little fight. I think I'm going to say a Billy versus Gongoro was better. I am going to say that. And it wasn't a pay-per-view. That was a more dramatic fight with lots of ebbs and flows, whereas this was really just a tale of two halves. Caleb took the first half or most of it. David took the last half, 7-5. But yeah, that's what I think is next.
Do you think this was one of those fights where in Caleb Plant's case, he took so much punishment. You think he'll ever be the same again? Because this to me was like a sustained beating. Canelo put him out. He put it on him in that 11th round, but that was like one round. This was like 4 or 5 rounds of steady damage that he endured. And it just looked like, he was hanging on for dear life in those last 4 or 5 rounds. Do you think he'll ever be the same? Not only physically, but confidence-wise?
Yeah, I do. I think because most of the punches that David landed were in the clinch or in very close proximity. A lot of the shots weren't actually flush shots. It's deceptive to fight. The blood that was on his face wasn't from a punch. It was from a clash of heads. Most of the punches, like D-Style said, that was towards the tail end of the match. The majority of it was, this guy's really tired and he's hanging on, but he is doing a good enough job smothering that he's not really getting hit cleanly. I saw cleaner punches in Billy Gongora than this, that they were flush shots, clean shots. So I do think he'll be okay, and I think he should be proud of himself because a lot of people thought he was going to get stopped. He didn't get stopped, and then he showed that if he can correct that gas tank issue, he'll be okay, because while he had energy, he was doing all right.
Gotcha. MC, where do you think these two guys go?
For David Benavidez, I think that he should take either the Bivol Andre route or the Morel route. I think David Morel is a great boxer, but he also has a lot of power. I think that David Benavidez checking his chin with someone like Morel would be great if he wants to prepare himself for someone like Canelo, right? So I think Bivol, additionally, I think he would be another great opponent at the PBC stable. So I think he's got a lot of opponents as far as that goes. Plan, I do think that he's going to have to take some time off. I don't see him fighting again maybe until late this year, or if not, until early next year. The weight class can keep moving without him, like I said. So take some time off, Plant. I guess spend some of the money you made, right? So
yeah, money. Lukey, where do you see Benavidez going next, and what do you think's next for Plant?
I mean, to me, Plant becomes like the very, very stern test who maybe a superstar can beat. He kind of occupies the Tony Harrison spot until he proves he's not that guy. There's always space for that kind of real formidable challenge for the emerging fighter, but hasn't quite won the big fight. And for Benavidez, he has to fight whatever opponent will get him into a pay-per-view or a high price point fight. So we would assume those type of fights would have to be competitive, interesting fights. And talking with David, I think those are the fights he wants. So it's very obvious. It's like the Charlo, the Morel, the Bivol Andre. He's at a point where really the market should dictate who he fights because he's at such a superstar level. The market should literally say, okay, this is the next guy. This is what we want to consume. Whereas Caleb Plant has to come back, maybe rebuild himself. And then he's in that position like Tony Harrison was, facing a Jarrett Hurd or facing this new guy. That's where I kind of see their trajectories currently.
Got you. So where do you see them going, D-Style?
As far as Plant, I do agree he has to come back, just get a win against anybody. But I would actually like to see him against Moriel. I think that's a fight that, because right now I'm in the dark with Moriel. Like he's getting a lot of hype, he's looking good on highlights, but like who's he fighting, right? So if you put him in there with Plant, I'll have a better gauge of where he's at, and does it even beat Plant? I don't even think that's a guarantee, to be honest. But I would like to see it at the very least, because if he does beat Plant in convincing fashion, right, then he could at least justify why David Benavidez fans act weird when you bring up his name. You know what I mean? At the very least. You know what I mean? I just want to know like what the big deal is. Now, he only has 8 fights, but he has amateur pedigree. He's a Cuban, so they could make up for that, right? But that's what I would like to see personally. Like there is a path for Plant there. And ironically, guys seem to get fights when they're coming off losses because now that they look beatable, guys are willing to get in the ring with them a lot easier since they are no longer protecting a no, that they're able to make the fight. I mean, people think I'm joking when I say we should thank Canelo for Plant Benavidez happening. Okay. Beeb likes to say he's holding up the division, but those guys weren't fighting when Canelo wasn't around. When Canelo came around and took Plant's he was one, and now he wasn't protecting the own, and we got that fight. Okay, that gave him an incentive to get in the ring with David Benavidez. I'm just saying, all right. So that's what I like to see. This door is opening up for him, all right. And ironically, and every comeback starts with the intent of feeding you to the sharks, right? It may start off as, hey, we're going to feed this guy to Moriel, and then he beats Moriel. All of a sudden, maybe Plant has a little bit of a comeback going. Who knows, right? As far as David Benavidez, I mean, Senior's already told us what's up, right? Oh, we want Canelo, we want Canelo, we want Canelo. And then, by the way, we already signed a 3-fight contract. We have every intention of fighting Moriel. We want Charlo, and we want Boo Boo. All great fights. I love all those fights, okay? But it's one of those three because if you believe Senior, I don't see why we shouldn't. I think that is the route they're going. It might be Bubo Andrade. I actually think that's an easy win for David, in my opinion. Like I've not been impressed with Bubo at all, and I have no idea how Bubo Andrade's going to deal with the activity of David, the gas tank of David, and I'm not even convinced Bubu's better than Plant. So it's I don't know. I think he stops him in like the 7th round, to be honest with you. So people like to talk about Canelo fighting Europeans. Well, Bubu's fighting Europeans and getting dropped by them. So like it really is what it is. I think David destroys Bubu.
I agree.
Doo will go down. Like I'm just saying.
Oh, he's got a family, man.
He might have a family, but it's what it is.
I'll be there to pick him up.
Can't call him Doodle like that. I mean, that's defamation. All right.
But I think that's the route they're going. And really quick, I see no reason at all why the Canelo fight can't happen next year, May 2024. And if Bivol doesn't want to fight Canelo, maybe in September. I don't see a reason why. But the question is, will David Benavidez be willing to go to? We know Canelo will go to Showtime if they offer him something, right? I'm not against that. But will David and company, Al Heyman, most importantly, allow David Benavidez to cross the street and fight over there in the zone?
You don't think that the owner of the Raiders being there has something to do with them possibly making that fight? I don't even think it really matters where the fight happens.
Tell him, MC. Tell him.
So
of course it doesn't matter.
I think that
yeah.
I mean, so at the end of the day, we know that David is gonna do whatever Canelo says. We agree that Canelo is the A side in every fight that he can be in. That's not being questioned.
No, that's not the argument. The argument is like, and I guess you just answered it. You believe that he will cross the street if it's necessary, but
when have they not crossed the street? Ryan just crossed the street.
Caleb Plant didn't cross the street.
Caleb didn't
have to cross the street because I think they were still not doing pay-per-view model on the zone yet.
That's what I told him, MC. He didn't want to listen.
I want to say this. I just want to say that basically.
That's what I told him, MC. That's what I
Caleb held the belt for ransom, and the only reason that the fight ended up happening is because Canelo was willing to go over there. But that was a very different dichotomy than what we're talking about here now. That was for undisputed. That was for a champion, and the last puzzle piece in the super middleweight division to become an undisputed champion. This is not that. David is just a mandatory challenger, the same as John Ryder, and you don't have the leverage that Caleb has. That Caleb had. There are several glaring problems with that fight between David and Canelo. As much as I would like for it to be in September, I already know that Samson is going to want more money for that fight than Caleb got. When I spoke to Samson, he said he wanted $10 million for an Andrade fight. So what's he going to want for a Canelo fight? What's he going to want?
Yeah, look, I just want to add this.
So you guys think that Benavidez is not going to be willing to take some type of pay cut? There is no other. You're either take it or not.
I don't think he will.
Negotiation here.
I don't think he's going to pass.
What?
I don't
Is
think.
he
I don't
gonna
think
move
it's
up
going to
to
be hard to make this
175
fight on
then?
David's.
Here's the thing. Let me say this. Let
David's
me
not
just
going to
say
play
this
hardball.
because
He's not gonna play
there's something that needs to be corrected here. It needs to be corrected. And MC, you're not the first one to say. Beeb saying it like oh, there was no pay-per-view, so that's why it had to be on Showtime. No, that's not true. That's not true. Billy Joe made the same amount as Caleb Plant, and that fight was not pay-per-view. All right.
And where was this
got
fight
paid.
at?
That was not pay-per-view. Canelo was not. He was fighting on his own.
Here's the thing.
It didn't need to be on pay-per-view. That is a
no. But here's my
narrative.
argument. Here's my argument. What I'm trying to say, and I don't want to put words in MC's mouth, but I think it's going to be easier to work out a deal if they can do it similar to what they did with Ryan, where you have the pay-per-view available on DAZN and you have the pay-per-view available on Showtime.
Okay, but here's the thing.
I don't see why they can't do the same thing.
Ryan,
this is the difference. I want to say that the ones at the helm of promotion when it comes to Ryan and Gervonta is Showtime. The ones at the helm, or who should be at the helm of promotion, is Matchroom. But that's not how it's going to go down. The way it's going to go down, PBC is going to want to run the show because they want maximum benefit from it. You know, that's why they held the belt for ransom with Caleb Plant. That's why they did that, even though DAZN made a play to do the fight. No, we didn't have to pay $75 or $80 or whatever it was we paid. The only reason we ended up paying that is because Showtime wanted to charge us that. If Caleb would have crossed the street, we would have got that fight as part of our DAZN subscription at no additional charge.
Here's the difference, Ring. I know people hate to hear this, but Caleb had a tiny bit of leverage because he had that belt.
Yeah.
David doesn't have any leverage. So I honestly don't think David's going to be as hard to work with, or this is not going to be as difficult a situation because David doesn't. David's been waiting. David's been waiting. He's been waiting for this fight for years.
Objectively speaking,
David Benavidez and Senior have been going around talking so much smack.
I agree.
They want this fight.
Do you think that they're gonna back down over?
No.
Yes. I agree, but let me add this caveat.
Okay, well, you know what? At that point,
yes,
at this point, why is this assumption already being made?
Because
we could talk about assumptions, right?
Can I say this? I make that assumption because you demanded $10 million for a Demetrius Andrade fight. I'm not stupid. I know what the market value of a fight is. If you're asking for that for Demetrius Andrade, when I asked him, he said it in plain English. Samson Lukowicz said that. And when it comes down to it, it's going to be Samson that makes the decision, not David. David doesn't decide what he does. It's Samson who decides.
And I guess David will just have to shut up and never mention Canelo's name again.
No one's saying that.
But Ring, you don't think that was hyperbolic? Like, I'm sure he didn't get $10 million to fight Caleb Plant.
He's also risking his own,
which was a much more difficult fight.
Risk, exactly.
Which was a much
I'm saying that the play from Team Benavidez is very obvious. This is not about getting a Canelo fight, and maybe you guys disagree, but it's very obvious to me. This is not about getting a Canelo fight. This is about building a brand off a sequence of pay-per-views behind the guys of a Canelo.
Here's the thing. Let me say this. I've been holding my tongue. Hold on. Look, here's what I want to say.
He's getting fired.
I keep hearing what does he bring? Like he doesn't have the bell
coming out of his ears.
They're trying to build a narrative. I mean, are you not listening? When Al Bernstein, someone who I respect a lot, by the way, starts tweeting out as if it's a matter of fact that Canelo doesn't want the fight. Like, we know Canelo's not going to take the fight, so that's why David had to sign the deal he fought, because we know Canelo would not fight him. They're trying to build this dude as a monster that Canelo's afraid of. That's the leverage they're trying to build.
Well, you're adding to that because you're talking
I'm not adding anything because I don't think Canelo's afraid of shit.
Can I say this?
Put it on you with that one.
Can I say this? Here's the problem that I have, right? I like all the fights they have for David. I would buy all those fights, believe it or not.
I like them too.
I would buy a Demetrius Andrade Benavidez fight. I would buy a Charlo fight. I would purchase them. My problem is the deception.
Working out.
My problem is the deception. Canelo is not running from you, and he never was. You're nobody to run from. You got sat on your back pocket by Ronald Gavril. You couldn't finish a fighter that was tired for 5 rounds. You couldn't find the knockout.
Talk bad about Benavidez. I mean, look.
No, wait. Let me finish.
Canelo after his fight.
Let me finish.
David will not go. Mark, he's not going to go to the
Let me
zone
finish.
to fight Canelo. Mark my words.
Jose Benavidez Sr. has been disrespecting Canelo for over a year. It is disrespectful. Your son has done absolutely nothing. The best name on his resume is a guy Canelo smoked, and he made it look easy. He made it look very easy. Okay, and you've been running around telling every member of the media that will put a mic in your face that Canelo's scared of your son. What the hell is that based on? What is that based on? What have you done? That is disrespectful. He went up there to a division where you dare not go. That's the reality. He been a light heavyweight 2 times against 2 light heavyweight champions. David, why haven't you done that? You're naturally bigger than Canelo, younger than Canelo. You actually blew the weight. You have a reason enough to go to light heavyweight. You don't. That's cool. But stop running around telling people, yeah, Canelo's scared of my son. Based on what?
Default.
I think that's part of promotion, though, Ring. I think that's just part of the promotion, Ring. I think that's part of the promotion.
But I'm not cool with that, though. That's all I'm saying. I'm not cool with that.
You have a right to not be cool with it. That's fair.
And all I'm saying is, if your son classifies Caleb Plant as the biggest fight of my career, it's not the biggest fight of Canelo's career. The fight of my life. That was not the fight of Canelo's life by any stretch of the imagination. Don't feed me this bullshit that he's a fucking monster. He is not a fucking monster. He's a good young fighter, and stop trying to blow smoke up my ass about him. He's a good young fighter. You don't need to lie to me to sell me the fucking fight. You can tell the truth.
Look, I want to add to something like to that. I'm just going to say this, and people are going to hate me. Beep's going to hate me. MC's going to hate me. It is what it is, okay? But I want you to listen to me very carefully, and I'll let you respond.
Is it going to make you a hater? Because that's like whenever they speak.
No, but I'll let you respond. But let me just say, I'm going to say this, and I want everybody in the chat. I want everybody listening on archive, and I want you to clip this and put it wherever you want. Listen to me. Listen, I want you to listen to me. All right, and the Samsung senior, whoever's watching this, I don't think you go to the zone to fight Canelo. I don't think you'll do it. I don't believe you'll do it. I think you'll try to make it a debate. You'll try to make it a discussion. That's what I believe. If Canelo says, nah, I want to fight on the zone, I don't believe David Benavidez will cross the street. I don't think he'll do what Fulton's doing, and I don't want to hear, he's under contract. I don't care. Fulton's under contract with PBC, and he's going over the top rank. Ain't no talk. There's no talk about, Ryan and did it and Tank. Beeb, the default position should not be, Canelo should work with Showtime and do what Tank and Ryan are doing. That should not be your default position. Your default position should be, Canelo calls his shots. You're going to fight in the zone if he wants it in the zone. If Canelo wants it on Showtime, then you'll do it on Showtime. That should be the default position. Why? Because Canelo's a draw. He's got all the belts. He's been more active. He's got the better resume. He's got everything over him. And that's just the truth. And I don't believe, and I'll let anybody respond, he won't go to the zone to fight Canelo. He won't do it. It's like Plant wouldn't do it.
Here's my position. And I've always said this, and I think this makes all the sense in the world. As long as Canelo is getting paid what he wants, I don't think he gives a fuck where the fight's going to be at. He's already proved that. He already went over to Showtime.
That's not the argument, Pete. The argument is Benavidez willing to go there? Like, don't change the argument.
Like it's simple.
Why
Canelo Alvarez
that argument when the fight hasn't even been negotiated?
Why don't you want to go on record and say
Benavidez will do whatever Canelo. Benavidez will do whatever Canelo wants.
Guys, one thing we know, and this is.
But I don't see why that's even part of the argument. Like,
the reason.
Why does that even matter? Why does it even matter that Benavidez has to obey Canelo? Like he's some.
Exactly. This is why.
This is like weird. This is a weird discussion.
Why is it weird?
Because the obsession with
of where the fight's going to be on. I don't give a fuck where the fight's going to be on.
I don't care. That's not what I'm saying.
All right.
That is exactly
let me say this. Let me say this.
Let us say something.
We're having two different discussions. We are having two different discussions, and I noticed that. See, I'm telling you that I don't believe the fight will happen. I believe that if Canelo dropped everything right now and told David, "You're going to fight me here," he wouldn't go. And I believe that the PBC will create a haggling situation.
Let's talk about it when it happens.
All right. Well, I just want to finish my point.
No, but
the
you guys have
reason
kept
of
making points and points and points.
okay,
Let
well,
us make some points. At the end of the day,
I
Canelo
haven't
has a
gotten to
fight right
talk
now
yet. You guys
scheduled
were screaming at each other.
with
You guys were screaming at each other while I was
Okay.
trying
Let
to
him
make.
finish. Let him finish his point, MC. MC,
Now
let him
I
finish his
already,
point. We'll
I've
give you. I'll give
already
you
seen,
5 minutes. I'll
No.
give you a full 5 minutes, MC. Let him
No.
I
finish
don't
his
need.
point.
All right, now, I've already seen this play out, and I've already seen this play out with several fights, and I already said that, Joshua and Wilder, they're never going to fight because they're going to create a haggling situation when it's obvious that AJ is the A side and you're not. He's got 3 belts, you've got 1. He makes this, you make that, and yet you created a haggling situation out of that where there shouldn't have been one. The situation was actually a lot less complicated before DAZN got into it. And you botched up every opportunity to make that fight. I saw it happen with Terrence Crawford and Errol Spence Jr. It's the same fucking thing, all right? You're cool to make a fight between Fury and Wilder that involves Top Rank, but for some reason you didn't want to make one with that one. And I'm telling you right now, if they told this guy, yo, go to DAZN, do that fight, he won't fucking do it because that's not the fucking plan. And if they fooled you, they fooled you. They didn't fucking fool me. I've been watching them do this for fucking years. You offered Charlo $7 million. Have you made $7 million since they offered you that? No, you haven't. They offered Gervonta Davis $8 million to unify with Tevin Farmer. He wasn't even on pay-per-view yet. Did you take it? No, because the bottom line is we see how they move. And that's why me and D-Styles agree on that. They're like, yo, if they told that kid right now, yo, go over there. Go over there, fight him right now. On his terms, he won't do it. I promise you he won't do it.
MC,
You can screenshot it or screen record it or whatever.
I'm
MC,
so glad that now
unleash
we
the
know.
fury.
Okay,
Unleash the
so-
fury, MC. Let him go. Get them all. Go.
I'm sorry, I will start now referring you to Nostradamus since you now are predicting the future.
I do that a lot.
So yeah, okay. So we'll have this discussion whenever it happens. As a boxing fan, I don't care where the fight happens. If it makes fans or if it makes you feel better that David is gonna do whatever Canelo says, yes. David is gonna have to do whatever Canelo says. We all know that. Ryan just had to do whatever Tank said. So it happens all the time. I don't understand why we want to focus on that when David just had a great performance. That's not enough now. Now we're talking about some other issue that they're gonna create. I don't think Senior would be going around talking all this smack if he wasn't willing to take the fight. Also, Canelo's not going to drop everything right now to take the David fight. He has a fight scheduled already in May. After that, his plans are to fight Bivol. So why are we even, again, discussing Benavidez' future when Canelo seems like he's pretty set on his own future?
Yeah. Let me
Because
just end it
Canelo
on-
said that. Because Canelo said yesterday that if something happens to the Bivol fight, he will fight Benavidez. That's why we're discussing it.
Correct. He did say that.
Let me just say this.
And Senior came back. No, hold on. Senior came back and said, yes, we're not gonna be fighting Canelo in September if the Bivol fight doesn't happen.
What Senior has said. See, what you're getting. No, wait a minute. Let me address the question. What Senior has said already for weeks and weeks and months is what I'm saying about Benavidez. He's the one who said Canelo's scared of us. Canelo's running from us. No, he's not.
Did you hear David saying that after his performance with Plant?
Does David make his own fights?
But does Canelo make his own fights?
Yes.
Okay, so why do you not respect Benavidez as a man the same way that you respect other fighters when they say that they're going to make
Benavidez as a man has been disrespecting Canelo as a man. If not for the propaganda, I'd be fine with him. I would be fine with him. I would be fine with
Canelo
you.
Plant disrespected Benavidez. They disrespected each other. And were you supporting Plant?
No, I actually picked David to win.
No, but
show me when Canelo, because I'm not talking about Plant. Show me when Canelo disrespected David the way David and his team.
Ring. I'm on board with you because I'm the biggest PBC hater of all time. But here's the difference here. I do think David's different than a lot of those guys over there. I just believe that. I could be wrong, And here's another thing. I think D-Style's getting this mixed up. Of course, Canelo calls the shots. In my opinion,
you're misunderstanding my point. Go ahead.
I honestly don't think he's going to get that angry. Like, I don't think he's going to make that such a sticking point where the fight is, in my opinion. That's just my opinion. And here's another one of my opinions, and I'll end it on this. I think David is going to want to be undisputed. They know PBC has nothing to battle now. They had that IBF belt before. They have nothing. You could minimize that little teeny eensy piece of leverage that they had, but now they have nothing. And the reason why all these other fights were announced for David was because they already knew Canelo had his schedule mapped out. So obviously people are going to be reactionary to Canelo's schedule. I'm sure if they offered Benavidez that fight in September, he would take it in a heartbeat. Now, you can disagree with that.
My point is this. Let me clarify my point.
Okay.
Okay. You keep thinking that I'm just for some reason flexing and showing that Canelo's. I know it. That's the obvious,
Why would
right?
You be flexing? You're not getting
okay. Like listen to what I'm saying. The only reason Saul Canelo Alvarez, okay, is the only reason I was arguing that he's the A side was to make my initial point. All right. You believe David will go over there to like it's a hypothetical. Do you know what a hypothetical is? So why the hypothetical? Because the hypothetical is possible. It's a possibility. You just tell yourself they don't have a belt no more. Like that's the only reason you worked before with PBC. So my point is this: you just disagree with my assessment. That's all it is. My only thing is this, and I just want people to go on record. You went on record. You believe that David will do it, right? So if he doesn't do it, I fully expect you to criticize David, okay? If he doesn't do it. You're on record now, okay?
Of course. Why would I not?
Cool. That's all. I just want people to go on record.
Have I criticized
Fury? Go on record. That's all I want you to do.
Have I criticized Fury? Can I get it? You okay? Is everything all right? You want to have a glass of water or something?
Go on record.
All right, so what I'm trying to say is, did I not go on record when Fury didn't have the fight with Usyk? So I don't know. Like, I don't understand your point. I don't understand why you're so emotionally attached to this.
No. There's no
you're getting upset here.
Point.
You again, get upset. It's only a fight.
Again. Okay, like listen to me. If you want me to tell you in a monotone voice, okay, it makes you feel better. You can
talk whatever you want.
Okay, it is what it is.
I just see blood vessels popping out of your hair. I don't want to have to call 911. I don't want to call 911.
Okay, you're the master losing your cool. You want to talk about people losing their cool. Like, chill out.
Guilty.
All right, cool.
Guilty.
You went on record. All right. You're mad that you have to go on record. That's the problem. Right? Because when the time comes, I guarantee they're going to play. PBC's going to play hardball. They want Canelo with a multi-fight deal. They're going to play hardball. And if Canelo, let me give you this hypothetical. And I'll end it with this.
But then at that point, how can you
let me finish up. I have a hypothetical.
Complaining, like, but it's not.
No. Listen to me really closely.
Hypotheticals here, sir. You have a lot of hypotheticals.
Hypothetically speaking.
You have a lot of hypotheticals.
Hypothetically
speaking. Lukey hasn't gotten a chance to talk in like 15 minutes. Lukey, what do you think about it?
Lukey's just chilling.
I mean, I just think that it comes down to money.
All it comes down to. That's all Canelo cares about is money.
It just comes down to money. And it's going to be, of course, if you're with Canelo's side, you're going to try to leverage for everything. And if you're with PBC, you're going to leverage for everything. And if you're with Benavidez, you're going to leverage
no problem.
Everything. And wherever the most money can be.
Here's
why is that so hard to understand, D-Style? Why is that so hard to understand that if Canelo gets presented?
Because I know, this is what I know, Joe. Maybe not you, okay? And if you don't like my passionate speaking, then fuck you. How about that?
Brother, you
but listen to me. Listen to what I'm saying.
I don't want to fuck you.
Okay, no. It's more like go fuck yourself. But here's the thing. Here's the thing. Listen to me. All right, go to the next topic. You're being a terrible moderator. You're not even letting me speak.
Guys, can we just look? I think this is where we disagree. Can I help?
Let's go to the next topic.
Them attack on me because you're emotional about this topic.
Okay, I want to. Guys, let me mediate. I'll mediate because there's a lot of hot tempers in here. In a nutshell,
I'm not even angry about it. I don't give a fuck where the fight is. I don't know why.
I don't care where the fight's either.
You guys are great. You guys are great, and I'll just leave it here. I think that me and D-Styles are of the opinion that the fight may not take place because they will use David as a bargaining chip. However, you guys are more optimistic than we are because you see that David doesn't really have a play because, well, you're not a champion. You're just a mandatory challenger.
You see how you want to take a dig at Benavidez? Like, just that's it. No more. This is not Benavidez.
I didn't take a dig at him.
You said he's not a champion when he has been
he's not a champion.
He's a world champion with an interim. That doesn't mean he's a champion.
You're clearly you're more passionate about it than I am because I'm differentiating.
I don't give a fuck where the fight is.
Can I go, Beeb? Let me just differentiate.
My fault.
Caleb had a belt. Caleb had a belt that Canelo wanted. The last puzzle piece.
I agree.
Beeb, do we agree that gave Caleb a little bit of leverage? Because I heard you say it earlier.
I already said that. Yes.
No, I'm saying that David doesn't have that leverage. You're an interim champion. You don't have that leverage. So it is a different situation. It should be, in theory, a fairly simple situation negotiation-wise. All I'm saying is that I don't believe it will be. I believe they're going to complicate things because that's what usually happens. That's it.
That's the only argument.
My final. Go ahead.
Really quick. Here's the reality, okay? If the situation arises, hypothetically, if PBC offers Canelo a higher guarantee than the zone, okay, and Canelo says, nah, I'm good, I want to do it on the zone, there is going to be people saying, oh, Canelo's ducking, PBC offered him more money. And I know this because when he re-signed with the zone, that's what people were saying. They were accusing him of ducking because he could have made more money with PBC. That's exactly what people were doing. I'm only getting ahead of the curve. It's not directed at you. I already know that what people are going to be saying. I know the narratives are coming. And when that time comes, because winter is coming, and when that time comes, I will remind everybody. And I will say, look, remember when I went on record and I said X, Y, and Z, right? Remember when I went on record, right? And I was just being interrupted because nobody wanted to go on record? I don't give a shit whether I said, the first thing I said was, if Canelo wants to do it on Showtime, I don't give a shit. If Canelo says, let's do it with Top Rank, I don't give a shit. ESPN, I don't give a shit. I don't care if he wants to do it on Sky. I don't care if he wants to fight in the moon. I don't care where the fight takes place, right? Now, you want me to say it monotone? I'll say it monotone too.
This is a hot topic, man.
I just want to make sure you're okay. That's all I care about.
Hey guys.
I'm in terrible shape.
Hey guys.
I'm doing horrible.
Hey guys. All I know is that David's a good young fighter, so let's not shit on the kid.
Bring the casket out, guys.
No, I just want to say that, look, the problem that I have, and I think we should move on because everybody looks really angry except for me and Luke.
Can we move on now?
Yeah,
all I wanted to say was David's a good young fighter, but the marketing strategy ruffles a lot of feathers, and that's the main issue.
Yeah. I mean, my only point in this whole argument was, you guys can say it's going to be difficult. Maybe you're right, maybe you're wrong. I just don't think it's going to be as difficult as you're presenting it. That's my only argument. I think the fight's going to happen. D-Style, you said earlier in the week you thought the fight was going to happen. Now you're saying it's not. I don't know what you.
I never said it's not going to happen.
Oh, okay. It seems like you're saying it's not going to happen.
No, okay. You know what you need? You need to go clean your ears. What you got to do? Because apparently, I mean, at this point, you got a lot of wax in your ears.
Guys, let's move on. These are normally nice.
I don't know where the insults are coming from. I'm having a conversation.
I'm just saying, if you're not understanding my points, usually it's not earwax. It's comprehension level.
Usually when the discussion goes to ad hominem, it's not even a discussion anymore.
Really? That's an ad hominem?
Is that the road you want to go down?
Earwax in the ear. That's a personal attack.
Is that the road you want to go down?
It's just a metaphor for you're not listening to what I'm saying. That's not an ad hominem.
Is that really the road you want to go down? All right.
Really? Like that's an ad hominem attack.
I mean, there's like 80 people watching you, man. If that's the look you want, that's
come on.
All right, we'll move on.
That's an ad hominem attack.
We'll move on.
Unbelievable.
Come on, guys. Now let's talk about how Canelo knocked the guy out and David did.
I mean, I don't give a fuck about it, to be honest with you. I'm not emotionally invested in the topic. I just don't understand why this is like.
I don't believe you are, baby.
We're having a passionate discussion, and then you're being emotional. Okay, then let's just have a boring show and move on. Then go ahead.
This is a horrible look, bro. Horrible look for you, bro.
Come on, guys.
First of all, when do I give a fuck what anybody thinks? That's number one.
I know.
Second, okay. Oh, look at me. Oh, your people are watching. Since when do you give a fuck what people think about you? All of a sudden, you care about what people think. And,
I mean, if I'm acting like an ass, if I'm acting poorly, I'm not gonna,
I don't give a shit.
Yeah, you're not acting really, putting yourself in a good light right now. But
Look, guys.
Jesse Caseta says 2-time 160-pound WBC champ through 2 cycle of champs, never unified. DB was offered the 175-pound WBC spot to fight AB, turned it down. DB goes 12 with Plant. The dude Canelo, now media praise DB, but shit on Canelo. Again, it's just, people are going to have their opinions. I think, more people are supporting Canelo right now than David, but it is what it is.
Let's have a somber show. Keep moving.
Canelo's a hero, man. Shit. That's how I feel about that shit.
Yeah.
He's a fucking hero. Saving boxing one fight at a time.
If you like Canelo, you like
We
Canelo.
made Ring IQ like turn off the camera and shit. Like,
Oh, no, it's because I'm smoking. That's why. It's because I'm smoking. That's all. But look, man, it was a good fight. And some people, and let's move on to the next subject.
I'm afraid to. The next step has Canelo with it. I mean, can we still talk about Canelo?
We can look. Come on, we're all adults here. We're all adults here.
Can we still talk about Canelo? We can all be all right, or are we gonna get mad?
I'm gonna be all right, Beeb. You gonna be all right?
I'm fine, man. I'm just not as emotionally invested in this, man.
This is good. This is good. This is good for TV.
So we already know both guys have their schedule mapped out, and this is just a hypothetical question, right? What fight do you think is a better fight in terms of which one would you rather see? Which one would you enjoy watching more? How do you think, style-wise, the fight would play out from an entertainment standpoint? Canelo versus Benavidez or this rematch with Bivol? What do you think is a better fight?
I'd rather see Benavidez. David and Goliath aesthetic always draws a lot of eyes, and David would be the Goliath. Canelo would be David. That's weird that Canelo would be David and David would be Goliath because Goliath is named David. But I would prefer that fight so we can kill these narratives straight away. Bivol's not going anywhere. He ain't got nothing to do. You can always come back to that guy. I'd rather see Benavidez in September. Style-wise, it's kind of obvious who wins the fight. It's kind of obvious. You have to consider that David Benavidez threw more punches and landed more punches than Canelo, and was still unable to put away an opponent who was so obviously exhausted after 5 rounds. That shows that his shot selection wasn't very good. And I was watching the fight, and I noticed that David's not showing much in terms of a jab, which is why Caleb is consistently able to spoil, because you're not jabbing your way in. You're just coming forward in a high guard and throwing these college frat boy punches. Then he gets under the punch, ties you up, spoils. And it just kept happening that way for 5 rounds. And I don't think David is better in the pocket than Canelo Alvarez is. I don't know. Like, it just seems obvious to me that, no, you're not better in the pocket. At that proximity to the other boxer, the smaller fighter tends to have the advantage. That's why Mike Tyson was able to do what he did to taller guys in the pocket. When you're in the pocket, it usually favors the smaller fighter. I would favor Canelo to win that fight if it were next. Unfortunately, it may not be. But I do think that's the way it breaks down. That stylistic matchup favors the boxer-puncher, the counter-puncher. That's Canelo. He doesn't have to go out there and find David the way he has to find Bivol. With Bivol, you have to try to find him just to land punches. With David, you don't have to do that. He's going to come forward. He's going to come to you. He's not going to box off the back foot, move lateral, stay on the perimeter of the ring. That's not who he is. So I would prefer that fight stylistically. I think it's a more fun fight to watch, but, I don't think we're going to get it in September.
Okay. MC, I think I know the answer, but which fight would you like better?
Benavidez versus Canelo, of course. I'd rather watch that.
Got you. Eric, which one would you like better?
So, look, it's like this, okay? The obvious answer is Benavidez, Canelo, and I honestly don't think anybody, I haven't heard. There's some people saying I'd rather see the Bivol fight. I don't know that many people that are saying Bivol. There's some. Nothing's ever absolute. But here's the thing: if you did a poll, like you were back in the late 90s and he did a poll, what would you rather see? I mean, De La Hoya's going to fight Ike Cortez. I mean, wouldn't you rather him fight Trinidad? And he did a poll. They're all going to say Trinidad, bro. Now, does that mean that the Ike Cortez fight was a terrible fight? Does that mean it wasn't a good matchup? No. In fact, it ended up being the better fight of the two. But that's a different point. Okay. In boxing, we don't always get what we want. Okay. We don't always get what we want in boxing. That's the reality. But if they're giving us a good alternative, right, how much room do we have to complain? Like at the end of the day, if the argument is Canelo doesn't want to fight David because, he doesn't want to, he's scared of him, or what some people like Al Bernstein saying things like that. Okay. If that's the argument, then why would he be fighting Bivol, a guy that already beat him? Like he's going to go back in the ring with someone who already proven that this is not conjecture. This is not a guess. This is not a theory. Like this is somebody who outboxed him throughout a 12-round fight. Not a lucky knockout punch. Not he caught Canelo with a good shot and Canelo couldn't recover. He beat him throughout. So Canelo's stubborn. That is a flaw of his. It is what it is. He's an aferrado. He wants that fight. Okay, like he wants to fight Bivol again. I think he wants it more than Bivol wants it. When Bivol talks about it, he's kind of like, I mean, I guess, but I want Beterbiev, whatever, right? But he'll probably take us to the money, right? But David Benavidez is the obvious answer.
Got you. What about you, Lukey?
I think Ring kind of spelled it out really good. I had to pull down the thing so I don't look as bald. Look, the reason Benavidez versus Plant was competitive was David doesn't use distance well. That fight was a guy who Plant is very good at distance control, stick, move, turn, but he doesn't fight well on the inside. Canelo showed that. Benavidez is good on the inside, but he has troubles getting into proximity. Bivol, to me, there's two ways that fight plays out. It's Usyk Joshua 2, right? Where it's the guy kind of breaks, like you think it's going to be competitive, and then the guy that won the first fight breaks him. Or it's Erislandy Lara Canelo. It's one of these hotly debated, people get passionate about it, but we kind of know what it looks like. I would rather see Canelo Benavidez because I don't know what it looks like. I would favor Canelo, but I always err on the side of I don't know the outcome. In boxing, those are the fights I want to see where I can't figure out the outcome, or there's a chance that I don't know what's going to happen. I don't know what Canelo Benavidez looks like.
Yeah. Alex, I already asked you this a couple of days ago. I think you already answered me, but why don't you tell the fans out there, or the listeners, I should say. No one, I can't assume they're fans, but the listeners, tell them what you think. Who would you rather see, Benavidez versus Canelo, or Canelo versus Bivol again? It's kind of a dumb question, but I just want to.
Who would I rather?
I was curious. Yeah, I was curious if anyone was going to say Bivol. Maybe it was a bad topic.
I think stylistically, it's a more fun fight for Canelo versus Beterbiev, right? Because Beterbiev is going to be there to hit, and Canelo is going to hit him a lot. So he's a more stationary fighter. Canelo would rather fight the stationary pressure fighter. And like I told you a couple of days ago, that's what's weird about the narrative they just came up with out of thin air, that Canelo's ducking Benavidez, because it just doesn't make any sense. That's not the guy that he would duck. The guy that he would duck would be Bivol stylistically, because that's his boogeyman, right? He's already proven that. So what would I rather see as a fan, like stylistically? Canelo versus Benavidez, because, I mean, it's a fun fight. It's a two-way fight for a while until it's not. And Bivol, I like Lukey said, I've seen it. And I have a pretty good feeling of how that's going to go again, although I don't know. But stylistically, the more fun fight is Canelo versus Benavidez. But I don't blame him at all for going for Bivol, because we all know he's concerned about legacy. And Bivol is the legacy fight. That's the legacy fight.
Yeah.
Because Bivol is the greater fighter. He's a pound-for-pound guy. And Canelo does not leave things alone. He's not. Like he's like Kobe, he's like Jordan, he's like Tom Brady. If somebody gets the better of them, they're not going to let it go ever. It's like the alpha male. Like if somebody comes and scratches their car, they're not going to let that go. It's going to live with them forever. So since May of last year, he's been thinking about this fight, and he's circling back for it. So it is what it is.
Yeah, like Callie said, like Bivol is a pound for pound fighter. Benavidez is never going to be a pound for pound fighter. And stylistically, you know, Bivol is just a better boxer, better at judging distance, better at in and out, better jab, better everything. So Benavidez is a cakewalk, to be honest. But
you know what you know what the fun thing about this is for boxing fans, like just for people who are just boxing fans, all these fights are good. Like Canelo Ryder, you know, they're trying to make Ryder out to be the Euro bum. You already know how that goes. But Ryder, Bivol, Benavidez versus Charlo, Benavidez versus Boo Boo, Benavidez versus Morrell Jr., the Boogeyman. All of those are good fights. They're all good fights. And the good news for Benavidez is, and this is why I tell the Benavidez fans to get your panties out of a bunch, because this plays out perfectly for Benavidez. If this is what the Benavidez fans have been, the narrative they've been spreading, that wait Canelo out. The longer Canelo waits, the worse it's going to be for him. And all of those are winnable fights, right? Because Charlo hasn't fought, and somebody reminded me today, it's been 652 days.
Jesus Christ.
Bubu Andrade is the first fighter in the history of boxing that I can think of who ducked two fighters simultaneously in the same calendar year. I've never seen anything like that, and I don't think I'll ever see it again. And Morrell Jr. has 8 fights. So, like, they're making it out to be a gauntlet. The good news for Benavidez is, and it's the reason that Benavidez Sr. signed this deal in calendar year 2022, by the way. I remember him on the Boxing Voice saying, we just signed an extension with PBC. So the reason they're doing it is because they know they have names there on the PBC side where the accolades, the accomplishments in the ring and the talent level of those 3 fighters that are on that list do not match their name at all. Like like these dudes have not been doing anything.
Charlo ain't fought in damn near 2 years. I'm like, how is this guy even in the conference? But yeah, you know, that dude ain't even fought since 2001. I mean, 2021.
Mm-hmm. But John Ryder's the bad guy, right? At least John Ryder's the only super middleweight in the world with 2 super middleweight top 10 wins in 2022. The only one in the world. But he's a Euro bum.
Yeah, he actually fought Danny Jacobs. I remember I was waiting for Charlo to do that homework, and he never did it.
And I was waiting for Boo Boo Andrade to fight Zach Parker twice. And John Ryder went out and did it. But they're calling for Canelo to fight Boo Boo Andrade. And the dude who hasn't fought in 652 days. It's exhausting. And the funny thing about it is, I told D-Style this, I think we talked about this on the phone. It's like the good channels, we just want to talk about the fights. Like I wanted to go on Sunday morning and just talk about Plant versus Benavidez. But by the time you get there, they've already spun off 1,000,001 narratives as to Canelo is shaking in Jalisco, Mexico, of the Mexican monster has advanced over the hill. And Canelo's fans are, oh my God, he threw 32 power punches in the first. He threw 32 punches per round in the first 6 rounds of his first step-up fight. We can't. It's the worst pressure fighter we've ever seen. So, like, dude,
those are monster numbers, Calix. Those are monster numbers.
These are all made-up narratives. It's hilarious. It's hilarious. And the funny thing about it is the Benavidez fans don't even know that they've lost this debate because the Canelo ducking Benavidez narrative has already fallen apart. Benavidez Sr. squashed it a couple of days ago. He said, basically, he's saying that they use Canelo's NIL, his name, image, and likeness, to sell the Plant fight. That's basically what he's saying. We already got a 3-fight deal. We're already staying in-house. So what are we talking about?
Do you think they did that, though, Calix, that 3-fight deal, because they knew Canelo had his career already mapped out, and obviously they gotta keep busy themselves?
Well, Canelo had the Ryder fight, right, in December, and it was pushed back because of the hand injury, right? It was pushed back to May. So he could have done a 1-fight deal with Plant. He didn't have to sign the extension. And that's the funny part, too, is if he wants badly the Canelo fight, why sign the PBC extension? Are they expecting Canelo to cross the street to PBC? Are they really expecting that? So
weren't they?
I don't know.
That's why I fucking love Cali, man. Because y'all told Terrence Crawford he got to cross the street, right? Because he the B side, but you also expecting the A side to cross the street too. Bro, do y'all want to fight or y'all want to fight? Like, what's going on? Y'all want to? And Cali, I just want to say this. I personally don't think they want to fight. I think they want the NIL, like you said. I've always maintained that from the beginning because there's more money in it. Winnable fights, more money, profile, it's everything you want. I don't actually think they want a Canelo fight. I think they're just talking.
Alex, you think they want the fight, or you think they're just talking?
I think Benavidez wants to fight.
Okay.
Benavidez wants to fight. I do believe he wants.
You think
to
his
fight.
team is gonna make it difficult for him to get the fight next year?
I don't know what they're gonna do, B. But what I'm saying is, I think everybody needs to let it play out and stop spreading these narratives that you've been trying to spread for 2 years. That's where it rubs people the wrong way. And false packaging rubs people the wrong way too, is package things correctly. It's like, y'all ever seen the movie, that M. Night Shyamalan movie, The Village?
I've seen that.
Okay, so they packaged that movie as it's a scary movie where you're going to see monsters running through the woods. And what do we see? They were just scaring the kids, the Quaker kids, from going to the other side of the woods to see the town that they didn't know existed, and there were no monsters. And that's what I felt like I was watching Saturday night. It's like, there's no monster.
Alex,
and they
is
tell
it?
me after that movie, they tell me it was, at least it wasn't scary, but it was a good movie. It showed M. Night Shyamalan's versatility, and that's what you were trying to tell me the other day, Beav. It's like,
oh, you ain't had to do him like that, bro.
Benavidez is a good fighter. He is.
Yeah.
He's a good fighter.
My whole thing was, I don't think he has to be the monster. He can just be a good fighter. So what you're saying is, it's like when you buy one of those big giant bags of chips, but half the bag is empty, and you're thinking you're getting all chips, but you're getting a half empty bag. Is that what you're saying?
I want to say something.
How many times did that happen? You take it home and you're like,
can we let Luke talk? He hasn't talked all.
I'm sorry, MC.
One thing,
go ahead, Luke.
I just want to say we live in an era of no substance, right? So it's like nothing can be just a fighter, right? Benavidez has to be a Mexican monster. He can't just be a great fighter. Guys can't just be Terry Norris. Guys can't just be Oscar De La Hoya. No, they have to be the next Oscar De La Hoya. They have to be the next pressure fighter. They have to be the next this. That's the issue, I think, with a lot of us, is we just want Benavidez to be Benavidez and fight 3 to 4 times a year. That's it. We want to have him in front of us and see the fights. And I think we get resentful and frustrated as fans when you get marketing and inactivity.
Got you.
And also, when you push back, you have to push back on these narratives so much that people just start calling you a Canelo meat writer and all this stuff. It's like, dude, no. We're just tired of you building up narratives that don't exist. When Canelo was at 160, I was told the 2 white chocolate guys at 168, Billy Joe Saunders and Caleb Plant, those were his boogeymen, right? And then when he won the title at middleweight, Golovkin was his boogeyman, and he ends up fighting him 3 times. Now Morrell Jr. is his boogeyman, but now the Benavidez fans don't want us to mention Morrell Jr. because he's being mentioned to fight Benavidez. It's just weird. It's really weird.
Dave, is too many people on the David Benavidez hype train, or are they haters? Like, what is your take on all this? We didn't get you in here.
You know what? This whole narrative this week that Canelo's afraid of David, I think they're doing a fantastic job at David Benavidez's camp of building this fake story, right? I think that's a good thing, but I think that Canelo does have something to be worried about, and that's from my experience last week being at the media open day and seeing the weigh-in on Friday. Listen, in Canelo's backyard of Las Vegas, David Benavidez drew the majority Latino crowd. Nearly 4,000 people filled the arena. Actually, it's a theater where they hold a Cirque du Soleil show. It was sold out. They had to reject maybe a few thousand people that wanted to see a weigh-in. So that's what Canelo should be afraid of. He should be afraid of right now, or maybe he is afraid of losing favor with the public, not only the Mexican public, but the Mexican-American public here in the U.S., because I've never seen somebody come into Canelo's territory in many years and say, hey, look, I'm the new star in town, right? And with this supposed deal where he's going to fight all these great guys at PBC, like Bivol Andrade, who is also a boogeyman at 160. Nobody wanted to fight him. Now he's up at 168. The Cuban guy, David Morrell, the future star, that guy just nearly put someone in a coma recently. These are great fights. And I don't see how Canelo, Bivol is dangerous. That's the true boogeyman. You know that he's one of the greatest fighters right now. Bivol, nobody can touch him. Nobody can hit him. His statistics show everything. That's a really dangerous fight. But there isn't very much interest in that rematch because of how poor he did. And meanwhile, David Benavidez is going to be fighting all the guys we want. I was on the Roundtable a couple weeks ago saying I wish I was going to see Canelo fight those guys. And now I'm finding out David might be fighting those guys in succession. So if Canelo's to be afraid of anything, it's that David Benavidez might become the star, the big star. Eventually, we might get that showdown that we did with Oscar De La Hoya and Julio Cesar Chavez. And that would be a great thing for boxing. So I do hope to see that someday.
Espera, hermano, eso no va a ser de la Joya Chávez. Eso va a ser de la Joya Vargas. That's what that's going to be.
All right.
Let
me bang out this super chat real quick. It's been hanging up here for a little while. Sorry that I missed this, Jesse. He said, Jesse Casada says, is Wilder fighting? I can't shame Andy. I can't shame Andy like that. Is he fighting Andy or Fury?
I'm not mad.
That's not nice.
At MC, I don't think
she's thick.
Yeah. I don't think she's mad. I mean,
that's not nice.
A lot of people are passionate on this panel tonight. I don't think anyone's really mad. All right.
That's gonna be De La Hoya Vargas, bro. And guess who's Vargas? That's what that is, bro.
All right. So enough Canelo and Benavidez talk. Let's move on to the next topic here. Big fight this weekend. Comeback trail Anthony Joshua, Jermaine Franklin. And I'm kind of all over the place with this fight. I believe Anthony Joshua is going to win. I think he's going to win by stoppage, but is he going to look good doing it? How do you guys see this fight playing out? Do you think this is going to be competitive, or do you think, Jermaine Franklin just caught an off Dillian White and that's why he had a good performance? Or, is Jermaine Franklin going to present problems? We'll go with you, D-Star. What do you think?
Look, I'm not crazy about the fight, but I understand it. Like, I get, like, if anyone, there's a thing called equity, and I think AJ has enough of it at this point to where people need to, give the guy a break. In other words, well, I don't like the fight. Why is he fighting him? And I just think fans get very, very critical, and it's whatever. But at the end of the day, he has had a tough schedule. He did go back-to-back fights, and not only that, I mean, when you lose back-to-back fights, you have to work your way back up, right? And that's a perfect opportunity for guys like Franklin to get their opportunity, right? Franklin, none of us are really giving him a shot, but he's a top contender. He's a top 20 guy at least. I think we could all agree to that at least. I think some feel he did really good against White. Some feel he beat White. So, it's whatever. I'm not crazy about the fight. I'm pretty confident AJ's going to knock him out. And it's a perfect type of fight to have when you're making a transition with a new team. Okay, he's working with a new trainer now, so we're going to see how all that is going to pan out. I think he should look spectacular. I think he'll win by knockout. I think he upped the ante when I was reading reports, and the reports were something like, if I lose, I'll retire. Well, I thought he upped the stakes, okay, shit, I gotta watch because this dude pulls the upset. That's it for AJ. But then he does an interview and he shuts that down. Nah, I'm gonna retire if I want. I'm not gonna retire if I. And I just feel like that would have been a good way to sell the fight at least. Put your career on the line. Like if you lose, I'm done or something. But it's whatever. But I'm okay with the fight. I'm not crazy about it, but I'm okay with it. AJ knockout.
Gotcha. Alex, the over under 7.5. It's a -112 on both ends. What do you think? Can we take the over here?
I don't know. I don't have a good feel about that. And D-Style and I had the betting odds show earlier, and we didn't see any value there. Now the AJ by knockout is -380. I think that's the safest play. But there's just not much value in the minus 380, right? But AJ is going to win this fight by stoppage. He's going to win this fight by stoppage. Franklin is there for a reason, and we're going to find out what that reason is to get stopped. It's, to me, the big question is, how does he look with the new trainer? How aggressive is he? I want AJ to be aggressive in this fight from the jump and say, look, I'm back. The cash cow of the division. He is the cash cow of the division. He's the second biggest cash cow in the sport. And number one and number two are clearly head and shoulders above everybody else. But it's good to have him back. And I want him to be active. And he alluded to that this week. He's like, activity. I need activity. They're talking about 2 to 3 fights this year. Just get this one under the belt, get your knockout, and say, get on the mic after and say, I want to come back in September or August, and name names as to who you want to see and get him back in the big fight sweepstakes later in the year. And this is the beautiful thing about AJ is you know it's going to happen. He's got the track record. We went over his resume earlier. He's got like a 12 to 14 consecutive fight run in which he's fighting names. He's fighting the names. Parkers, the Tacoms, the guys earlier on that were undefeated. And also 2 straight fights with Usyk, 2 fights with Andy Ruiz. This guy has the resume, okay? And I can be forgiving of 3 losses in 5 fights because I think Usyk is special. He's a special fighter. And as D-Style and I discussed earlier, I didn't think he looked bad in the 2 Usyk fights, particularly the second fight. I just think Usyk outpaced him throughout the fight and won a close fight. So I think the narratives of his demise are overplayed, and he'll be back. He's still got another run in him.
Gotcha. Dave, what do you think of this fight? How do you think this plays out? You think Jermaine Franklin can go some rounds here, or do you think Joshua will blast him out of there?
Jermaine Franklin is a scrappy guy, you know, and let's not forget what Andy Ruiz did in the first one. I'm interested in watching this fight because, of course, all these new storylines. He came to the U.S. He has a new trainer. He's been training in America. He's been training in Texas. His training camp, all these videos are going up, right? The Anthony Joshua that fought Andy Ruiz the first time, I'm always going to remember that guy, the guy that folded under the pressure, the guy that's easy to get to. Okay, and that's why I'm interested in AJ's story, because that Anthony Joshua could get upset on any given night by the kind of guy that Jermaine Franklin is. All right, now the guy that fought Andy Ruiz the second time, Anthony Joshua, that made easy work of Andy Ruiz the second time around. Hey, that guy's a top 3 heavyweight in my book any day. I want to see Anthony Joshua go on to fight Tyson Fury. So he's got to stop this Jermaine Franklin guy and make him look pedestrian and make him look that he doesn't belong in the ring this Saturday. But again, hey, it's always a great time to watch Anthony Joshua because you never know when he does fold into that pressure. If he gets hit the right way by Jermaine Franklin, you never know when. For him, a guy with a net worth of $80 billion plus that could go on to modeling, acting, entertainment career, you never know what's going to make a guy like this that say I've had enough.
Bivol, as always, sneaky, doing nothing, sitting on that second Canelo payday like a nervous mother hen.
Not no hate people. I love his unwavering hatred for Bivol.
How could you hate Bivol? I mean, what is he?
I don't get it either, but he hates him.
Like the nicest guy in the world, right? That's crazy. Jesus. How do you see this fight playing out, Lukey, with Jermaine Franklin and Joshua? Is this the right opponent for Joshua?
I mean, for me, Joshua is kind of a rough one because it's like he's always been a guy that I just haven't really cared about because he can't do a basic thing, offense into defense, defense into offense. And the amount of money behind him, he's basically had every advantage going into every fight, and he's kind of manipulated his career in a legacy capacity and really kind of underachieved. So it's like he's kind of like a modern Frank Bruno, maybe a little bit better. But I just don't care. I'm just kind of, I don't know. I've been very uninterested in it. Probably the way you guys get upset about Canelo and Benavidez. I kind of just feel like Joshua's not all that good. He's entertaining, but it's like he's the guy the Hall of Famers beat. So I don't expect Franklin to beat him. But whenever he faces a guy that can go to the Hall of Fame, he's going to be the spectacular knockout on their resume, or he's going to be the guy that they beat up. So it's good to have a guy like Joshua around because he's the guy that the great fighters beat up. But I mean, is it unforeseeable that Jermaine Franklin comes in, is focused, and beats up that Hall of Very Good guy? No. But I mean, do I care? I'm probably going to be playing golf. Like, I'm not going to stay home to watch this.
Not going to watch it, Lukey?
Oh God, no! I'll
You're
never.
not going to not even the
highlights. I'm not.
You watched the replay,
I'm not
right?
watching. I'm not staying home for this. No.
Oh God, Lukey. All right, man. You made an interesting point, and I'm going to ask you this question real briefly. You brought up Hall of Fame, and a lot of people, when they, in my opinion, and again, this is just my opinion, a lot of people like to measure guys and they compare them to guys in other eras as part of their criteria sometimes when they're voting guys in the Hall of Fame. When you look at Joshua and you look at his era based off of what he's done in this era, because arguably he's a top, he was in the top two, top three, top four, top 3 or 4, right? He was
three.
Yeah. Would you vote him in the Hall of Fame based off of his body of work thus far?
I wouldn't, but like
you wouldn't. Would
would
anyone on this panel vote him in based off of what he's done in his era? Because I would based off of his era.
I think he's good. I think he's an attraction, right? So like,
okay, fair enough.
I think that who's like an attraction that never achieved in another sport, like Ricky Fowler. So I think that Joshua is like Ricky Fowler for golf. He's been incredibly successful. He wins some marquee events, but he never won a major, and he never really got the huge achievements that went with his celebrity status. That doesn't downplay it. He probably will be a Hall of Famer, but he's not the same way a Hall of Famer like someone like Tiger Woods or Phil Mickelson will be a Hall of Famer, because the achievement component of Joshua doesn't match a Larry Holmes. It doesn't match a Lennox Lewis. It doesn't match Joe Louis. It doesn't match Muhammad Ali.
I don't think anybody from this era does, though.
That's what
Usyk is starting that. Like Usyk, I think is better than Holyfield.
No,
you can't say that.
That speaks.
Easily, my words.
That speaks to what I said. No, and no offense to you, Lukey. See what you just did. You were comparing him to other eras.
Yeah,
I'm comparing him to this era. Like, because
he's the guy that's losing to the best guys, right? So to me, those guys don't get into the Hall of Fame.
He lost to one guy.
He lost to two guys.
Well, 2 guys, but he avenged the one. But then the other,
and he got lost.
2 guys, but one guy.
Transition. He greatly struggled with Klitschko when Fury beat him much more dominantly before, and he got beat by Usyk because he can't transition offense into defense. Right. He needs a hero moment to do it. But at the same time, I understand there's a big morality component with Joshua where he's like the Sugar Ray Leonard of the UK. And he's had a great marketing and engine behind him. And there's a huge morality component that he's very likable and he's great for the sport. So if people want to vote him based on the moral principles of that, I'm not opposed to it. In terms of achievement, no, because I think that he's had a lot of advantages and he's greatly underachieved.
Okay, fair enough.
Hey, can I play the devil's advocate to that real quick?
Go ahead, Calix. Go ahead, Calix. Fine.
There are a lot of heavyweights at the top that don't have the wins that Joshua has right now. Like Wilder doesn't have a win like Ruiz, and he doesn't have a win like Klitschko. So who would we put? Like Tyson Fury, he has Wilder twice, we think 3 times, and Klitschko. So maybe we would say Fury is the only heavyweight that has better wins, right? So,
but I mean, like all of Joshua's wins are so weird. Like they're just weird. The best win is Joe Parker. It's like Joe Parker, he struggled with the jab. I think Joe killed his confidence because that was like a 7-5 fight. He was struggling with the jab. He was real hesitant. He was like, oh God, a jab. And he's just popping it. And I remember we watched that in Fillmore at a picnic, and I couldn't believe it because I thought he was going to walk down Joe. And then you look at it, and it's like since that fight, it's like old Povetkin. I'm going off the top of my head. I mean, I really don't. The Klitschko fight, good win, but after Fury, Dillian White, who cares? I don't know. I mean, but I also
who cares though. That was a good win.
This is not my division. It's typically guys who are not really in shape, who just punch each other, who go from being a bar bouncer into the sport, who have a big bully mentality. So it's not like I'm I'm like super thrilled in this division. It's probably the most uninteresting division to me. And I just feel like if you have a machine behind you the way Joshua did, you probably should achieve a little better because he had everything. Like, look at Fury, right? People don't like Fury and Usyk, or a lot of people like Usyk. They didn't have the machine behind him Joshua did. So
Well,
to
that's
me,
because Fury got a gift decision in a fight that we all know he lost.
He loves saying that. I love it.
Because it's the truth. Like, you're telling me that a unified champion who beat more top tens than Wilder didn't achieve anything? Seriously?
Very easily. The words are coming out of my mouth, and it's not
Well,
even.
it's a tough sell. I'm just going to say it's a tough sell because I'm kind of with Callie on this. The only other heavyweight in this division, or the only other heavyweights in this division with wins comparable to Joshua's, are one, the guy that beat him, and Fury. Other than that, maybe we could say that about Wilder and Parker. We could say that about them, but we can't say that about Joshua.
Say it about Usyk. Joe Joyce will eventually have a legacy of this part. I mean, he's interesting. But like at the same time, I don't care. I'm not going to sit with a bunch of grown men and argue about just my opinion. Like, I don't care. It's another man. He's really rich. I wish him the best. I hope he wins, but I don't care. I'm not going to watch this shit. When he fights someone relevant, I'll watch, but I don't care.
So you know what I like? You know what I like about AJ is he is the cash cow, and he did have a lot coming in. Everybody's right, but guys who have that coming in have an excuse to sort of lay up, right? And when I look at his resume as a whole, he has the strongest resume in the division as a whole. He has the toughest fights from going 14 fights back.
I appreciate that about him. That he went out and did that. And that's kind of his downfall in a way, is that he's like stubborn and he'll take sometimes the wrong fights.
I like stubborn.
I like stubborn
I like stubborn too, man. Yeah. So Ring, I want to bet the over in this fight at 7.5. Is that a good bet? Would you endorse that bet?
Yeah, I think there's a few reasons I think Franklin's going to get stopped early. There's a few reasons. One, he cut a lot of weight. I don't believe that fat guys that are normally fat guys.
Whoa.
No. This is some guys.
That's my thing I do. It's okay. It's okay.
Hey,
I do.
Some guys are supposed to be fat. So I kind of see in this fight what I saw in Ruiz versus Areola. Hey, shut up.
See? You can't fat shame anymore, Ring.
Okay, look, I'm not fat shaming, and I mean this in the best way. Fat guys fight really good. They fight really good, and they have that shock absorber neck to where when they get hit with punches, it doesn't jostle as much. And we saw in the Ruiz versus Areola fight, he tried to get skinny in that fight, and he got hit with a shot, and he went down, where normally he has a great chin. I believe Jermaine Franklin set himself up that way because he lost a lot of weight for this fight. I think they said he lost like 20 pounds or 25 pounds. He has a six-pack now. That's not the way to go for this fight. You know, you fought well what you weighed with Dillian. So if it worked, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. And I think he. Shut up. Oh my God. I got one of them wives that she just want to be on the camera, man. Be quiet. Yeah. Anyway.
It started with the fat shaming. That's how it started.
I'm not fat shaming him. I want him to be fat.
With the G
puts
check.
up a better fight if he's fat. That's what I think.
With the G check.
Well, he's gonna get knocked out on Saturday. Then that's what's gonna happen.
Ring with the G check.
No, I'm gonna ring IQ on that one, man. They fat shamed Andy Ruiz, man. There was so many burrito jokes. I mean, we can't get enough of them burrito jokes. But Andy Ruiz fights so much better at the weight he's naturally born to be.
What's his natural weight?
Like 250, 260, maybe.
Did he fight better in the rematch against? Because he was fat as shit. Like he was
too fat. He was too fat in the look. I've been watching. Andy's let me say this about Andy. Andy's always been a good fighter. He's got 200 amateur fights. The reason Joseph Parker became gun shy is because of Andy Ruiz. I remember that fight. And arguably, if that fight would have took place in America, Andy would have got a decision, not Joseph Parker. He would have been a WBO champion. Mm-hmm. So fat guys fight good. And for this fight, Jermaine don't want to be a fat guy. Well, that's a mistake, bro. That is a mistake. Fat guys can fight.
Fat guys can fight. But sometimes you got to get a little bit of shape. I'm just it depends.
I haven't seen Jermaine Franklin's abs, but with these days, man, with Instagram filters and TikTok filters, I don't know, man. I got to see the video on that.
Plus, I'm not the one putting negativity on the fat. You are, Joe. Like if I say fat, and you say, "Whoa," well, maybe he likes being fat. You know what I mean?
Fat is good.
Why can't you just say heavy set? That's the more politically correct term, heavy set.
Heavy set.
Look, fat is good. If you go to a restaurant, you get a fat steak or a fat burger. You get a girl, she has a fat ass. Fat is good. Fat is good. Let's add some context. Fat is not bad in this conversation. Fat is good.
Like Andy, what really was like, dude, like he was tasting pizzas and thought it was like cool. Like, the people, are getting support. They really love me. They bring me pizzas and, and he's eating them on camera. He's eating tacos with the Saudi prince. Okay, freaking, like Eddie Hearn takes him a whole cart of tacos, and I need you to show the Saudi prince how to eat a taco, and it's just ridiculous, bro. I'm sorry. And then people wonder why he showed up like a walrus. That shit was by design.
He was having a good time,
man.
No, I mean, look, Andy said he didn't train. Out of Andy's own mouth, he did say he didn't. I don't know if it's an excuse. I just know that's what he said. But generally speaking, fat people fight really good, though. So don't get it twisted. Fat means good.
That Fat Girl app, the one where they try to make themselves look thinner. Like Andy.
I mean, fat. Honestly, I mean that in the best way possible. But no, seriously, I do think it will affect his punch resistance. I've seen 4 of Jermaine Franklin's fights. He's a good fighter. He has good combinations. He's leaky, though. He has leaky defense. He can be caught. I think Anthony made a great trainer choice in Derek James. That's the right trainer for him and what he needs out of the 3 guys. It was Virgil Hunter, it was Roy Jones, and Derek James. Of the 3, he made the right choice, and I think we're going to see it on Saturday. That's what I think.
Who would have thought Roy Jones is fighting on the same day as him, by the way, too?
Jesus.
In a real fight.
I don't know if I want to read. I don't know if I want to read the super chat here, but Lukey's not here, so maybe Lukey's take on AJ is as bad. It's as bad as his hairline. No,
I just want to say this really quick because Lukey made a comparison to Tiger Woods wins majors and like here's the thing, and the guy he was comparing to never won a major. Like having 3 of the 4 belts is a major to me. Like, you know what I mean? Like if 1 belt's a major, 4 is a Grand Slam. He had 3 of the 4. I mean, I'm just saying, like on paper, Hall of Famer in my book, but it's all opinion based.
I'm gonna vote him in, but I'm gonna run a little interference for Lukey in one aspect here. I guess he was put up there very highly, and he was like based off of what Eddie Hearn said he was gonna be. I think maybe he underachieved on a lot of the UK public's expectations and Eddie Hearn's expectations. But even with that being said, just like I said to Calix, even if David Benavidez isn't the Mexican monster, he doesn't have to be. He could still just be a good fighter. Same goes for AJ, in my opinion.
I want to push back a little bit, though, Beeb. I remember they used to say that about Lennox after the McCall fight. I remember everybody fucking hated Lennox, man. They fucking hated that guy.
Oh, I always love Lennox Lewis. Oh,
guys on my block fucking hated Lennox, man. So when he got knocked out by McCall. Oh, he's a piece of shit. He's a piece of shit. And then when Klitschko got knocked out by Corey Saunders and he got lost to Lamont Brewster and Ross Purdy. Oh, he's a piece of shit. He sucks. But that man went on to reign for 9 years. So I'm going to give the kid a break. And I'm going to say that, look, he was unified in under 30 fights. Unified under 30. And all he got to do is get another belt back. He's a 3-time heavyweight champion. Yeah, I'm fairly confident he'll get in the hall. I'm fairly confident.
Oh, he'll get in. I think he'll get in too.
He's got another run in him, though. He's got another run in him, I'm telling you.
Do you guys think he beats Wilder? Does anyone on this panel think he beats Wilder, or would you pick Wilder?
I'd pick
50-50. I'd pick Wilder.
God, no. I pick Wilder.
I'd pick AJ, bro. Y'all being too sentimental with that Wilder character. Y'all better find the film on Harold Sconeers. Find it.
You love that.
It'll change your mind.
You love that. Okay. Now we've been talking about this for a while, but now it's official. We saw the press conference today. Haney Lomachenko is official for May 20th, right? And if anyone looks like they need a rehydration clause, it's Lomachenko, because Devin Haney looked gigantic compared to him. He looked like a middleweight next to Vasily Lomachenko.
He did.
Right. So now that this fight is official, I know we've been talking about it, but now it's official. We can really kind of lay into it. Dave, what are your thoughts, man?
Oh shit, I'm excited, man. I don't even want to tell you what I spent on those pre-sales today. I have to see this one in person.
Are you going, Dave?
I'm going. I got a pre-sale today. I don't even care for press passes, nothing. I paid a pretty pony to see that. Actually, you know what? Those are probably double what a conventional fight is going for. But Ryan Garcia fight, $750 per ticket for nosebleeds. This Haney fight is a good value all around. I like the undercard too with Oscar Valdez back on that as an undercard. Yeah. So I'm excited. Hey, listen, Devin Haney is catching Lomachenko, in my opinion, at the right moment, because I'm not like Drew, my co-host Drew, that thinks Lomachenko is going to pull this off, man. I think Lomachenko is aging out. It's been clear. He starts way too late in these fights. And Devin Haney, he's commanding him in the ring. His defense is on par with like Dimitri Bivol, Shakur Stevenson. He's going to shut out Lomachenko in the first 6 rounds. I know it. He's not going to let the guy get started, and Lomachenko is going to be playing catch-up for the rest of the fight offensively and come up short. This is Devin Haney's time. I think the time is right, and much like he shut out lesser opponents, he'll shut out a great pound-for-pound fighter like Lomachenko in this one. But I'm going to see it in real life, man. Maybe Lomachenko still got one in him in his 30s, and I'm ready for it, man.
Ring, I think you saw the press conference today, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, I was excited, man. It's a great fight. To me, it's the premier fight at lightweight, man. I've been waiting for it, and I'm a big Devin Haney fan. But it's a 50-50 fight to me, because while he looks huge, at the face-off, remember, he's got to cut down. He's got to boil down to 135, and he's fighting a guy who fights at a very high pace. So to a guy who may be draining himself to make the weight, that kind of evens the scales a little bit. And it's just a great fight. Like, you can't complain about a fight like that. He said he always wanted to fight him. He's going to do it. He's going to fight him. And there's no losers in the end, because he's a man of his word. There's nothing to complain about that fight.
Yeah. So win, lose, or draw, do you think Haney goes to 140 after this?
Oh, absolutely. Like, the kid, it's time for him to move up. It may have been time for him to move up the last 2 fights, which is why his power and punch resistance seems to be waning. It's hard to get down there for him because he's a very young guy. So this really should be his last fight. Win, lose, or draw, or whatever. Yeah, go up after that,
Gotcha. Calix, what's the play here, man? Haney versus Lomachenko. Is he get him at the right time?
So the betting odds, we look at those. Haney's almost 3-1 favorite. Wow. So to me, Lomachenko at plus 230, there's value there. I think he's being undervalued there. Now, I saw Haney walking to the press conference, and at the press conference, he looks big and he looks confident. I like how Haney has carried his business. It's one of those, I was telling people the other day, is the beautiful thing about boxing is when you take fights off of paper and put them into reality, accidents happen. Haney was not supposed to be in this position to begin with, but accidents happen. And then as a boxing fan, you become fans of fighters that you would have never thought of 2 years ago. I would have never thought I would become a fan of Haney. And it's not the style, it's just how he carries himself. Being younger and taking a chance on this top-ranked contract, saying, no, I'll go over there to Australia. I'll fight your rematch clause, blah, blah, blah. I'll get the belts. And then I'll fight Lomachenko. And then I'll become a free agent. And look at where he will be if he pulls that off. If he is undisputed and beats Lomachenko and becomes a promotional free agent after that, look at where that dude is. He'll be sitting at the negotiation table and saying, bring me all your deals. I'm moving up to 140. Bring me all your deals. I love that. And he's going to sign another short-term deal, likely another 3 to 4 fight deal. He's going to play this like the new age NBA, just sign 3-year contracts. And I like how this dude is carrying his business. He's confident in himself. He can say, I'll fight whoever. I'll do short-term contracts, not lock myself in for a long time. But one thing I'll say is, Haney, will he go down to the well? He likes fighting at 135 because he likes having the size. Lomachenko is the opposite, right? he's liked moving up to 135 because he can still make 130, possibly even 126, but he's fighting at 135 because he likes the angles it creates being a smaller fighter fighting bigger fighters. So for each fan bases, I don't want to hear any excuses after the fight because they both like fighting at 135 for a reason. So we don't want to hear weight drained. Lomachenko is a lightweight at this point. He's got, 9 fights at lightweight, and he's had success. So he's a lightweight. I don't want to hear he's too small. Let the best man win, everything on the line. This is what's beautiful about boxing.
Gotcha. Do you think after this fight he does like goes back to Eddie? What do you think?
I don't know. I don't know if he stays with Bob or goes to Eddie. But the play is 140, right? So
probably better off staying with Bob, right? If he's
Teofimo Joshua Taylor's right around the corner, man. Yeah, you get a piece of that.
So maybe he stays with Bob. Yeah. I tend to think he's more comfortable with Eddie, but the play at 140 seems to be top ranked. But I don't know.
Okay,
Top Rank's got better options, man. You know they're gonna probably try to rob. They're gonna probably. It's in New York, bro, and it ain't in New York for no goddamn reason. Taylor versus Lopez. It ain't over there for no reason. Remember, initially they wanted to do it in Scotland. They moved it to New York. Who's got the advantage in New York? Lopez.
Wow, that's crazy. I never thought of that, Ring. I never thought of that.
Well, I mean, think about it. Lopez versus Haney sells better than Haney versus Taylor.
Sells great.
Yeah. The odds are razor close in that fight too. That's almost a pick 'em.
No, I got Haney, man. If he beats Loma, I got Haney beating Lopez. Lopez's brain is a bag of cats, man.
Oh yeah, I think
Lopez is not beating Josh Taylor.
No, he's not.
I'm not saying. Hey, Kelly, I ain't saying that. I said if. If.
No, the odds are razor close though. Him and Josh Taylor. It's like it's almost a pick 'em. We're very tight odds. So, Lukey, what do you think of this, man? We've been talking about this for a while. Now that we have it, has your mind changed about the fight at all?
It's a good fight. These are good fights are good fights. And you got these are the fights that I really like, where it's a young fighter who could be great taking on an old proven champion. I think what's made boxing uninteresting to me at points over the last 10 to 15 years are the old champions don't want to fend off the young fighters. And that's kind of like what drew me to the sport, was like the older fighters saying, you're great, but you're going to have to wait another 3 years. I'm still here. And I think this fight's a lot closer than people think. I think that the big X factor to me is the athleticism of Devin Haney. And also, can Devin keep Lomachenko off of him? Because Lomachenko is one hell of a problem if he does not feel threatened by your power. So, I mean, this is going to be a really fascinating fight. And I think as the fight gets closer, it's going to get more exciting. I am a little concerned about Loma. Like, everyone knows I do my Machiavelli stalking really well. And I stalk like everybody really well. And Loma's posting some really strange religious stuff on his Instagram, like every single day, very deep religious stuff. I'm not sure if that's like going to bring a new positive or a new negative, but that is an X factor if you're a gambler or something, to like look at what the freak is going on with Loma, because he's never shown this much of his personality ever in his life in a social capacity.
Jesse Casada, thank you so much for the 199 super chat. He says, do you see Haney fighting Prograis next year? I don't know. That's a good question.
I mean, Ray just has to get a network behind him, man, because he's so good. If there's no distribution and leverage on his end, everyone's just going to do other fights.
Shout out to Boxing with the $2 super chat. Says, Aram hired Haney as an assassin to bring the belts back to Top Rank. Okay.
I think the opposite. I think he was brought in as a guy. I don't think he was supposed to be in this position.
Yeah.
I don't. And I think badly that Bob Arum wants Lomachenko to win this fight.
He loves Lomachenko.
But I actually think, Alex, that he's supposed to be the buffer guy. And then I think Arum wanted him like to get a crack at, like he wants Loma to get a crack at him, and then Shakur is like his ace and is his ace. But now whether he fights Shakur, I don't know.
Yeah,
It's a compelling argument on either side because if Loma wins, then, Devin's a free agent after this fight. Not necessarily a good position for Bob because that means if he wins, he takes all the belts with him. So you kind of want the guy you have under contract to get all those belts because then you can bring them to another fight where you have a guy under contract in Stevenson. So it's a good argument on either side, bro. It's a good fight, man. 50-50 fight.
Your thoughts on this fight changed at all after seeing the press conference, seeing how big Haney is? Ring brings up a great point. He's going to have to boil down, man. So I don't know how that's going to affect him because he was already talking about moving up.
What I'll say is that this is an opportunity for Lomachenko to, like in every fighter, right? When you look at boxing history, a moment comes where a fighter needs to prove his greatness, right? This is Lomachenko's moment. If he beats David Haney, he will right all the wrongs if he wins this fight. And I think he's taking the right path here. I think he acted like for the first time in his career, really, he acted like a contender chasing the champion, chasing the belt. He would never really did that. He got a title shot in his second fight. Even though he lost, it was just a mistake to do that. It never made sense to me. And they would have built, like if he would have been patient, and Bob would have told him, no, we know what we're doing. Just trust us. When the time comes, you'll fight Salido with 6-7 fights in. You'll beat him. Like, you know what I mean? We'll know. We'll gauge it when you're ready. Because they were just shooting in the dark, putting him in there with Salido, right? That's number one. He obviously improved immensely after that. And he's had a lot of great wins, right? But right now, he's in that same position he was when he lost to Salido, and then they threw him in there with Gary Russell, right? And that was like a must-win. If he loses that fight, that derails the whole momentum and career of Vasyl Lomachenko. But he passed with flying colors. He dominated that fight, right? So this is his opportunity in a much tougher fight now that he has more experience. If Vasyl Lomachenko can win this fight, okay, and I believe he has an excellent chance to win this fight. I do. To me, it's a 55-45 fight either way. I haven't made up my mind on who I think is going to win, right?
Really?
Yeah, now that it's official, I want to wait. I want to, I want to see how David Haney looks in training camp. It's a lot of things, right? But I just want to say that this is Lomachenko's moment. Like a great, if he wants to be considered an all-time great wins this fight. Like this is his moment right here. So we'll see how he does it. We'll see. Like it is what it is, but it's a tall task, literally. Haney does look big, but. Was that a positive? Like I mean, if he's going to be killing himself to make weight, I don't know. And he didn't look so good at the weigh-in back in October. It's almost been half a year. It's going to be over a half a year. Time is everything, man. And we're talking about a couple of pounds. So I'm looking forward to it myself.
How would you feel about this fight if it was like 2 years ago?
Loma wins.
Would it be Loma all day?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Style-wise, I think it was shit, man. I'm nearsighted and I can't see that shit. But the dude at the top in the middle said it, Loma fights at a very fast pace, man. And 2 years ago, Devin wasn't as maturated a fighter as he is now. He's already a really young guy. He was younger before. So before 2 years ago, I would have picked Loma to win this thing. Now it's closer. He's older, he wear and tear, war in Ukraine, all that stuff. So it's a closer fight now, and it's a more interesting fight as a result because I don't want it to be a whitewash. I want to wonder who's going to win. It's a 50. Those are the best kind of fights where the answer is not clear. You got to tune in to find out what's going to happen.
You're going to find out quick in this fight because it's like, during the Teofimo fight, I'm texting D-Style. I'm like, when is this dude going to throw a punch? He started off slow in his 2 losses, he started off slow, right? And he's known as a guy who starts slow, but he's fighting Teofimo and he's not throwing punches for 7 rounds. And the ESPN crew is saying he's downloading data. And I'm like, I'm texting D-Style, and he's not downloading data. He's losing the fight. And he cannot do that. Now, it might have been a shoulder injury. I don't know, but he cannot start slow again against Haney. He can't because then Haney's going to get into hit and hug style. And the fun thing about this, though, is Lomachenko is going to speed him up. And Linares couldn't take advantage of it late in the fight, but Linares is a technician as well. So he was able to get out of those clinches more effectively than Kambosos, than Jojo Diaz. So I want to see Haney be able to fight at a higher speed, and I want to see how his chins take some of those shots. That's the interesting part about this, especially if he's weight drained, because weight drained is a real thing, by the way. I remember watching my guy Cotto fight Paulie Malignaggi at 140 and saying that was my introduction to that. Like, whoa, weight drained is a real thing because Malignaggi just hurt Cotto. That's not supposed to happen.
Bro, I'm trying to tell you, like Devin, I think, was probably supposed to move up 2 fights ago, which is why his punch resistance is waning and his power is waning. There's just not a lot on his shots, even though he's very big for the weight. I think that's a byproduct of him boiling all the way down to 135. It's the only way to explain, because he's a big kid. He used to get knockouts a very long time ago, but he used to knock people out.
Look, Loma's a very sharp puncher. I don't think he gets credit for being a very sharp puncher, and he might be the sharpest puncher Haney's really ever fought.
Yes, he is.
And like the shots Jojo landed, I think it's a bigger deal if Loma lands those shots. And I think Loma will follow up better than Jojo did when Jojo had success. He could emulate the same success, but do more behind it. It's an interesting fight, and I also believe that I honestly believe this. I do think the ref's gonna.
D-Star, you nailed it.
The ref's gonna have some instructions. Someone's gonna tell the ref, "Yo, we don't want all that holding."
Yeah,
it's gonna happen.
If anybody uses clinching as effectively as Plant, it's Devin Haney, and I think it's going to be real interesting who they pick to officiate this fight, because we saw a lot of people are on the fence that feel that there was way too much excessive clinching and holding in this Plant versus Benavidez fight, and Devin Haney uses that to his advantage, and if he can get a referee like we saw last Saturday, then that's really going to stifle that offensive footwork of the great Lomachenko.
For anyone who thinks that's not a real thing, you just got to look at the trilogy of Ali Frazier, right? Yeah. The second fight, Ali was allowed to hold all he wanted. He clinched all he wanted, and it was the easiest. It wasn't easy, but it was the easiest of all the fights for Ali, right?
Mayweather,
and it's the one he decisively won.
Too, right? Mayweather Maidana too.
Yeah.
All right, we got the last topic. This is going to be another probably heated debate here, but I've been listening to Alex Krasov, Usyk's promoter, do a lot of interviews, and today he did one, and he made the statement. He said, telling people, don't give Tyson Fury a hard time. I'm seeing a lot of people on social media cussing Tyson Fury out. Please don't give him a hard time. And he goes, I want to make this clear. We were the ones that pulled out of the fight. And he kind of was going down the reasons. I have a kind of a weird take on this, and maybe this is a minority take. I kind of think we got played here a little bit by both sides. I don't think they ever wanted to do this fight in the UK, in my opinion. I think this is kind of like a stall tactic to get this fight in Saudi. And when you hear both sides talk about this fight, you hear Frank Warren talk about this fight, when you hear Krasov talk about this fight, they say it's not going to happen on April 29th, but they never say it's not going to happen. So do you guys think this fight is going to happen by the end of this year, or do you think this is just dead forever? We'll start with you, Ring.
It's dead. I think that, I got a lot to say about this, so I'll just try to keep it short. No, it's dead, bro. It's dead. I would go with your theory that perhaps they're both in cahoots and it's not the intention of either team to do the fight at the end of April. I would go with that, but I know Fury, man. I've been watching Fury for ages, bro. I've been watching Fury way before any of this Wilder bullshit. This is trademark, textbook Tyson Fury, bro. He just does dumb shit to fights, right? He just does a lot of dumb fucking shit that is not fucking necessary to important fights. The bullshit with his ankle in the Klitschko rematch. Then he's mentally unfit while he's testing positive for coke and nandrolone. It's like, bro, come on now. Anybody can see you fucked up the fight. Anybody can see that. And I don't believe we're going to get this fight, unfortunately. I don't believe we're going to get undisputed. I believe all of this is a play from Tyson Fury to line up his schedule with Joshua's, because here you have Todd Duboff, the president of Top Rank, who very recently stated the biggest fight in boxing is what? Fury versus Joshua. Who's fighting this weekend? Anthony Joshua. Who's not fighting at the end of April? Fury. It's kind of obvious what he's doing. He prefers the Joshua fight to the Usyk fight. Usyk is a bad, bad man, and I think he would have beat him. And I'm going to leave it right there.
Got you. Lukey, do you think this fight will ever happen, at least by the end of this year?
It never will happen. It's Fury's fault. He wants to be able to fight a guy that he doesn't even have to train and he can beat, like Joshua. Usyk is a really hard fight for him. It's just as simple as that. It's very disappointing because it would have been cool to see. I don't think we've seen in this millennium undisputed championship heavyweight champion. I think that Lennox Lewis Holyfield was 1999, so it would have been cool to see it. It won't happen. So Fury, I think that Fury's going to fight like Francis Ngannou and all those stupid fights. You know, it's over, bro. Like, I don't think we see Fury in any fight that's relevant or matters ever again.
D-Style, is Fury just calling it a day and looking for cash out fights, or does he? Will we get this undisputed fight by the end of the year, or sometime next year at the very least?
My intuition tells me we'll eventually get it. But like that. That's I always felt like this is how I feel about Fury. So, is Fury a guy that gets scared or he's worried about an opponent? Not necessarily. I just think he needs to get up for an opponent. He needs to and if he doesn't feel like doing it, he's not going to do it. My problem is that he drags people along, right? And fools the public, and then he gets a pass because it's he's just being a heel. It's just that's the thing. It's Fury being Fury, like, you know what I mean? I guess it is Fury being Fury, but it's so different than like if I don't feel like going to work. Do I fear my job? No, I don't have a fear of my job. But sometimes, once in a while, I use a sick day. I don't want to go, right? And I think Fury is he's calling in sick, you know, and it's Cap. He's not sick. Like, you know what I mean? He's fine. He's lying to the boss, right? He's like, I'm not feeling good. I can't fight Usyk. You know, that's what he's doing, right? But maybe he just sees it as too big of an inconvenience. Maybe he does feel, to Luke's point, the AJ fight's an easier fight, and I could make more money doing that. Like, there's a lot of ways to look at it. I think we'll eventually get the fight, but we're going to get it when Fury feels like it, and then and hope that when he does feel like it, that Usyk isn't caught up with another fight or something, right? He's gonna be expected to drop everything he's doing to go ahead and fight Fury, right? But that's how I feel about it.
Alex, am I being optimistic in saying that they just wanted to drag this out so they can fight in Saudi? Or because I'm hearing things. I'm hearing that December could be the date in Saudi. I don't know. Am I just grasping at straws here?
Yes, you are. I like how you try to give forgiveness to your guy. You try to give forgiveness.
He's sneaky as shit, yo.
I'll never forgive you, by the way, for saying that you think Fury beats every heavyweight in history because he's the biggest. I will never forgive you for that take. But the funniest thing, but
I get laughed at barbecues for that one.
No, but in all seriousness, the funniest thing I've ever seen in modern boxing history is when this dude announced his new trainer and then 2 days later retired. That was hilarious. It was hilarious, but it just shows that there's no rhyme. People try to make a rhyme and reason as to what he's doing. There isn't. I think he just wakes up one day and I'm gonna just do this. Wakes up another day. No, I'm gonna do something else. I don't think he's playing 8D chess out there. I just don't. I think he's just flying out there, just doing what he, every one week he'll do some coke, 1 week he'll, read some Bible scripture, and then 1 week he wants to fight Usyk, 1 week he doesn't, and right now he just doesn't feel like doing it, and he wasn't going to do it. And I don't understand the few people out there trying to run cover for what he's doing. I don't really get it, because there are some people out there.
They saw Snatch, man, and they think he's Brad Pitt from Snatch, that he's like 10 steps ahead of everybody. No, he's not, bro. He's just a fucking spastic tweaker kid. That's all he is, bro. He's a fucking tweaker kid.
It's one of the more frustrating careers to follow. And I said that about Andre Ward for a while too, is when he went on that layoff after the Super Six and he did that and he just, he started to sue people and then just lay up and pretend like he wanted to fight some people. And then he redeemed himself late with Kovalev, right? But Tyson Fury is doing a similar thing to where it's just like, you beat Klitschko and then you just disappear. And then you come back and you do something to get people excited. And then you just do this. We've been this close to undisputed how many times, and they're just not going to give it to us. And it's because of Tyson Fury. So, the good news is if we get Fury versus Joshua or Fury versus Joe Joyce, I'm in. And if we get Usyk versus Wilder, I'm in. There are fun matchups to be made there, but it's been sad watching Fury's career as of late. It really has.
Do you think if Usyk fights Wilder, he'll be able to get like exceptions and they won't order his mandatories? Do you think they'll give him an
He's not gonna fight Wilder, bro. He's gonna fight Daniel Dubois. Wilder's gonna go fuck off and fight Andy Ruiz and then do some dumb shit. And what might happen is Usyk versus Joyce, and you got to pay attention to that fight because it's 12 rounds now. It ain't 5 like before, that semi-pro fight.
Yeah, that's a good point, Ray.
But at the same time, Joe Joyce is 38 today. How the fuck old is he going to be when they do fight?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And Usyk's 35. He's going to he'll be 36 soon himself too, right? Mm-hmm. And he's probably has a longer amateur career. So, I mean,
I had a cosmic vision of purity. I had a cosmic vision of goodness. Joyce might beat Usyk when they do fight. And what the super fight ends up being for our millennia and this planet is Anthony Joshua versus Joe Joyce for the IBF and WBO titles.
Wow.
I'd love that. I would love that.
So at this point, at this point, like Fury's kind of like holding. If he's not gonna like go for undisputed, then he's kind of holding up things a little bit. He's stagnating the division. It seems.
I wish the WBC would have stripped him. Like the ring.
At what point does the WBC step in and see the WBC is the worst at ordering minutes?
They haven't shipped Charlo, brother.
Yeah. They don't like enforce mandatories at all. They'll let guys like not fight for like friggin' a year and a half, and they'll just leave
only when it's convenient. They'll do it.
If it's the right guy, they'll just let anyone. They just let him go forever, right?
Yeah.
Make people champion emeritus. It's ridiculous.
Dave, well, the problem there is that they don't have a mandatory to strip him. Remember, Wilder and Ruiz supposed to fight for that.
Yeah, that's right too. They don't have mandatory. There's no.
We don't even know what the fuck going on with that. Like, I literally don't know if they're gonna fight. I don't know.
What's Andy Ruiz gonna do now? When was the last time Andy Ruiz fought? How long ago was that?
That was what, the Ortiz fight? I think it was last year.
When was that? That's been a while.
It was September on pay-per-view and nobody watched it.
Oh, was it?
On pay-per-view.
Yeah, that's horrible, man.
I mean, the best thing for Andy, there's money out there for Andy, though. If the Wilder fight doesn't happen, he could go to Matchroom, he could go to Queensbury, he could go to Sky. Because they got a couple of heavyweights that need a name. And Andy could service himself that way if he has that autonomy to, hey, go fucking fight Dempsey McKean or somebody, or go fight Joe Joyce or somebody. Dangerous fights, yeah, but there's money, and that's prize fighting at the end of the day.
There's money. Dave, are we going to get this fight by the end of the year or no?
Joe, I'm with you. I'm an eternal optimist, man. I think it's dead for now. This is prize fighting. I think Tyson Fury, you watch his behavior, and if anybody's ever had someone in their family that might be bipolar, it's like a bipolar career. So I have to give him a pass every time he says crazy shit and he shows up on my timeline giving excuses. This guy Usyk is the ultimate high risk, low reward fight. So for now, I think you're right on the money about that, man. He's waiting to see what happens with Anthony Joshua, how much money he can generate against Anthony Joshua at the O2 Arena, and then put off this fight with Usyk. Maybe Usyk ages out. Maybe his legs get a little slower, and if he needs money, then maybe he looks at it then. And let's be frank about that Saudi Arabia money, man. It dwarfs. And how does it dwarf? It's incredible what kind of money they're willing to put up. It dwarfs what even the O2 Arena with 80,000 people can do. So I think we might get to fight eventually.
I think we're going to get into December, man.
Eternal optimist, Beeb. Eternal optimist. When it comes to Tyson Fury.
Here's the thing, man. Like I was saying for weeks that the Tank Ryan fight wasn't gonna happen, man. And now I'm kind of shook at saying things ain't gonna happen.
You know what? We weren't.
Listen, he's
Look,
gonna
we
be
were
in
not wrong, bro.
SummerSlam, bro.
Like, here's the thing about just really quick about that Ryan Tank situation. Ryan came out and said, "Yeah, there was a hold up." Like, you know what I mean? Like I hadn't agreed to the fight yet because they were trying to push the stuff. Okay, like the rehydration clause and all that. When they there's a reason they didn't announce it that it was official. Like there was a reason. You know, that's why they didn't have the T-Mobile Arena yet. I think it was agreed to eventually, right? But I don't think we were wrong about that.
I think that rehydration clause was really holding it up, and then he finally just finally gave in and just took it. To be honest with you,
it's not a great fight though, man. Like I'm gonna be honest, like
it's funny though, Ring. People are talking about it a little bit. Like
people talk about SummerSlam, Beeb.
Like I know what you're saying. Like it's not a great fight like that. But
no, I mean he's a fucking prospect, bro. The best name on his resume is Luke Campbell. What are we talking about here? Like, come on now, like. I don't even like Javante, but I kind of got to favor him because I thought about how Ryan could win, but you're not a consummate professional. You don't have a steady schedule of activity. I don't know if you can follow a game plan because you haven't shown that you can consistently compete at that level. So just off of that, I'm like, well, you know, fat boy, you ain't going to be the one that's weight drained the night of the fight. So you got to kind of favor him. It's like Bill says, it's an exhibition match.
He's definitely going to be favored, man. There's no question. Like I don't know many people who are picking Ryan. I think Ryan's got a shot.
That's what Haney said.
I'm picking Ryan.
They're like, Haney, what's a bigger fight? He's like, well, you know, those two guys are, you know, they're influencers. You know, they got a big social media following, so that's why it's a big fight. But this one's a real fight. Like it's just.
No, I know.
He's not wrong though. Like he's not. This is Haney versus Loma is a high level championship fight. It's a championship match. Ryan he's a TikToker, bro. Like,
yeah. But Ring, do you believe that this will do like good numbers, or you're not sure about it?
I don't know because Ryan's never been on pay-per-view. We're only saying this because he has 1 million followers on Instagram. That's the only reason we're saying this. I'm not saying it won't though. I'm not saying it won't. I'm just saying I don't know what it's going to do, man.
Remember D-Style saying because the kids that follow him, I don't know if they're going to buy the fight.
Well, they're gonna go to Reddit and jump on an illegal stream, bro. They know better than we do where to get the links.
Or maybe maybe their parents will buy the fight for them. Who knows?
Dad, I want to watch Ryan. Like, shut up! I'm gonna watch Lomachenko versus Haney. Imagine.
Yeah.
All right, guys, that was a great show. Very robust debate tonight, man. Happy to have everyone on the panel. Thank you to everyone. Thank you, Lukey. Thank you, Ring. Thank you, D-Style. Thank you, Calix. Thank you, Dave. Thank you, MC. And see you next week. Peace out, everybody.